Most people are missing 90% of what it takes to build and have a good approach up at the plate. Here's how I know. So I had this remote hitter hit me up yesterday telling me that he didn't really have an approach up at the plate, right? We work on his swing, we work on his moves, right? And he's really confident, really aware, but mentioned that he didn't really have an approach up at the plate, right? And I realized this is where I was falling short with this particular hitter, right? But as I started asking more questions to different hitters, I realized I don't think a lot of hitters, especially young hitters, really know what it is to have a good approach, right? I think that it stops with be aggressive early in the count, hunt your pitch, right? Swing at good pitches, something super general, and just make sure you battle with two strikes. And so I want to dive into the complexities and why having a good approach is so much more than just being aggressive and swing at your pitch and battling with two strikes. So I want to give you guys a little sneak peek of this one presentation that I made, and I made this presentation for our curriculum, and this is about application, game strategy, and building an approach that fits you, right? So let's dive into why approaches should be just as personalized as your workout program, your nutrition, your mental work, etc. It should all be personalized. It shouldn't be just a blanket approach, right? So one of the things I hear is being aggressive early in counts or being aggressive on your pitch. The reason that I think that this is a blanket statement that's overgeneralized is because your pitch and my pitch are two completely different pitches, right? I am going to be good at hitting certain pitches that you aren't, and vice versa, right? Some people's strengths are different. So this is, situation dependent. What's the situation in the game? This is batter dependent. What are my strengths? What are your strengths? And what are my weaknesses? What are your weaknesses? This is pitcher dependent. What are the pitcher's tendencies? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are they comfortable throwing, etc.? And also, too, another one is umpire dependent. Do we have an umpire that has a really tight zone? Is the umpire calling really outside? Are they calling really low? Right? What's the zone? This is going to change and manipulate and kind of warp my approach depending on all of those different factors. So to clean this up, right, if you just think about it in 4 steps, you have step 1, identify your strengths and weaknesses. This is first and foremost, bring awareness to what you are good at. Second step, identify the pitcher's strengths and weaknesses, right? What are their tendencies? So a lot of times when I want to simplify this to my hitters is I say, what pitch do they like to throw strikes with? What do they like to get ahead in the count with? What do they like to get you out with, right? If you know those 2 things, it makes your life a lot easier. Step 3, build a routine, build a plan, right? What aligns between your strengths and what their tendencies are? And then the last one is to go do the thing, right? When you have this plan, do you actually do it, or is it just a thought in your head? One of the ways that I think that hitters at a younger age can kind of identify their strengths and weaknesses is everybody uses Game Changer now. They have spray charts, etc., right? Is where do you hit balls hard? Where are your extra base hits? Where is your production, right? What part of the zone? Is it up? Is it down? Is it in? Is it out? Right? Bring awareness to that, right? Go back and look at videos. If the catcher's catching it inside, right, and you hit everything that the catcher sets up inside on, right, and that's where the pitcher hits it, great. We can start to consider that more of a strength, right? Also looking at spray charts, right? Do we pull the ball a lot? Do we hit it oppo a lot? Do we hit it down a lot? Do we hit it high? Do we elevate the ball really well, right? And I think this is a simple and easy way for us to start to identify our strengths as hitters up at the plate, right? But I think that this goes way deeper, right? And as somebody who trains hitters in the weight room, I take them in the off season, and my main purpose is player development. It's not how can we go 1 for 3 today if I'm struggling out on the field. I don't get out on the field much, but as somebody who looks at player development, right? This is why we built out the curriculum. So the curriculum is a 16 chapter course, right? Basically on how we look at the body, assessing the body. We look at resting postures. We look at, ranges of motion, active range of motions, right? Are you able to get into, out of your hips? Are you anteriorly, posteriorly tilt? Are you really strong anteriorly, posteriorly? We look at, again, like injury history. We look at some of your mental performance, right? How you handle pressure, anxiety, right? Are you a high energy, low energy, your playing intensity, right? All of these different factors come into play when it comes to building an approach. If you really want to go deeper, I would definitely recommend checking out the curriculum. But let's get back into it. The next step is to identify what the pitcher's tendencies are. So like I mentioned, right, I tell everybody, especially at a young age, right, what pitch pitch do pitchers like to get ahead with, right? I don't think that this is a secret. Most pitchers don't like working behind in the count, if any. I don't think I know a single pitcher in my lifetime that's liked getting behind in the count. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't get out of it, but they don't like it, right? Pitchers like getting ahead in the count. So what pitch do they like to go to on this particular day, in this month, or throughout this season? What pitch do they like to throw to get ahead in the count? I think that's first step. The second step, and this is the second big one, and this is simplifying it, is what pitch do they like to get you out with when they have two strikes, when they're in a leveraged count, right? And I'm not saying 3-2. I'm saying it's 0-2, 1-2, something along those lines, 2-2 even. What pitch do they like to get people out with, right? Is it a rise ball in softball? Is it a changeup? Is it a slider? Is it their two seam hard and in, right? What pitch do they like to get people out with, right? Identify the pitcher's tendencies and what they like to do. And I think this is a really big step in identifying what your approach should be. Now, the next thing is building a game plan, right? So I don't think this is a secret. Sometimes there's just bad matchups, right? And I don't think that a lot of people give it enough time to consider why it's a bad matchup. Sometimes a bad matchup is because the pitcher's strengths and tendencies, right, tend to match up more with the hitter's weaknesses, right? And when they line up with the weaknesses, that tends to be a bad matchup. So, for example, right, if somebody struggles as a batter with spacing, getting inside the ball, hitting the inside pitch well, and this pitcher is a righty that, let's say it's a righty batter, righty pitcher that has arm side run, two seam, sinker, changeup, down and in, can really work inside. That's going to be a tougher matchup for some people. This was a tough matchup for me in a lot of ways, right? And so this is going to be a tough matchup. But when we're looking and building a game plan, is let's say the pitcher loves to throw fastballs first pitch because that is the pitch they like to get ahead with. And also, not a secret, go watch youth baseball, youth softball. The first pitch, the catcher sets up outside, right? So I'm, again, very general, but again, if that's their tendency, right, how do I make that align with what my strengths are? If this pitcher can't throw middle in and that's my strength, okay, then I need to come up with a game plan to make that pitch my strength. Maybe I need to scoot up on the box. Maybe, they do throw outside first pitch, but then they like to bring it back in, right? They don't just outside the whole at bat, right? And maybe I need to take the first pitch and be more patient that at bat, right? But generally, I would say at a younger age, people are trying to throw outside. They don't love throwing in. So this may be a good reason for you to scoot up on the plate, close off your stance, something along those lines. Maybe it's even to go no stride, which some coaches call two-strike approach, to simplify that so we're not leaking, pulling off, losing our direction. And this can be a good game plan to kind of combat that. Now, I go into way more depth on the different types of pitchers, north, south, east, west, slow, fast, what different arsenals, what tunnels they go through in my part 4 of my application in the curriculum. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper, go check that out. Now, the last step is to go execute, right? Now, this part's really difficult because just because you have a good game plan doesn't mean that the pitcher won't execute at a high level as well, right? So if the pitcher goes out with a good game plan and you go out with a good game plan and they spot up and the umpire's ringing up that outside corner, right? Sometimes they just won and you need to tip your cap, okay? And I know that's hard for some people to admit, but that's just the truth sometimes, right? But I like looking at this, and this is talking about some of the higher level hitters in our sport, and one of the best hitting coaches, offensive coordinators, whatever title you want to give them. I like this quote from Donnie Eckers is, you isolate movement, path, and alignment against each pitch type. The same hitter can look completely different against different pitchers, right? And what he means by that, in my opinion, is based on the problem at hand, I may need to change my setup. I may need to change what pitches I'm swinging at, what my intent is, what my approach looks like because of how they're attacking me based on their strengths and their weaknesses, right? So I think this kind of begs the question too, is like, is approach really that simple? No, I don't think approach is that simple. I think approach, having one generic blanket approach for an entire team, I think is doing a huge disservice to athletes and hitters and teams across the entire country. I think that this is something that needs more time, more effort, more attention put into it, right? And I think that this is something that I think that we throw this blanket statement over the top of because we as coaches haven't taken the time to do the research and better understand the pitcher's tendencies and our hitter's strengths. I know I've fallen into that trap, and so my main purpose with this video is to dive a little bit deeper and give you a better understanding. If you're wanting to build an approach up at the plate, right? It's not as simple as we'll go swing early, right? Because you strike out too much, right? So you need to try to make contact early. Or, hey, you have really good hands, so see pitches in battle, right? It's not that simple, right? There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to what your strengths are, what their strengths are, weaknesses, what pitches you hit well and why, at what pitches and what count do you need to be attacking, right? What feels, what intent, what thoughts do you need to have to then take my physical, where I'm at physically into the mental side and then go execute out on the field. So again, if you want a full system of like building an approach based on you, your personal structure, the mental side, the spiritual side, the emotional side, kind of like everything leading up to explaining why you're good at the things you're good at, definitely check out the curriculum, the full curriculum, or different courses within the curriculum, the sections. That'll give you and paint you a way better picture, more detailed picture. But I think that this is a really good starting point for a lot of people where you can look at this and just say, hey, what are my strengths, right? What pitches do I hit well? What locations do I hit well, right? What does this pitcher throw? Do they throw hard? Do they throw soft? Do they throw in? Do they throw out, right? What pitches do they throw well, right? How can I make what they're going to throw align with what I'm good at, right? And if you can make it that simple, I think that that's going to be a great start for a lot of younger hitters building an approach. And as you get older and you get more information and, some minor leaguers and big leaguers that I've talked to and worked with, is they have access to so much information. They know the umpire zone that they're going into that day. They know the pitcher's tendencies. They know their tendencies, right? And this can get really layered and really deep. But for now, know your strengths, know the pitcher's tendencies, try to make them align as much as you can. And I think that's a really good start for building a good quality approach up at the plate.